Go. Hi, you're listening Creative Clowns podcast. My name is Julian. I'm a graphic designer, and here we're going to talk about graphic design, visual culture, and the weird visual stuff around us. You will hear plenty of broken English and some attempts to translate Russian idioms in very awkward way. So you've been warned.
Yeah, so I guess we'll do introductions. So my name's Stefan, graphic designer, motion designer, videographer. Me and Julian both went through design school in college and then through university. Both of us got our degrees and then ended up working for a small like business to business like in-house design role. And we sort of want to talk about that experience, how that sort of how we see design, and see how that sort of changes how we think. So you're very welcome.
Yeah. Okay. Where should we start? Yeah, quick introduction from me. Basically, graphic designer. In the spare time, I like to do some sound thing, like a sound designing, stuff like that. So, okay, Stefan, where should we start? Very sorry, it's our first podcast and a bit awkward for us. Well, that guy, he's making some streams, so he probably more relaxed than me, but
maybe, but it's a good chance to say expect technical difficulties. We're still sinking our teeth into it.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, but at the end of the day, we're clowns. It's in the name.
Yeah, as the world seems to be burning down around us, everything going on, why not start a podcast and complain about design for a bit? Because why not? Are we the clowns for being in this industry?
Yeah, just like a small disclaimer. Yeah, this is all subjective. This is our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, probably all design is subjective. But
absolutely.
But talking with you, if you like Comic Sans, we need to talk. So contact us. Yeah, there is an email in description. If you have found a Comic Sans, then we need to talk.
Yeah, we'd like to know why.
Yeah. Okay. So where should we start?
Well, I think inspired by our logo, it's worth talking about the softwares that we use, standard softwares in the industry. Because Julian, you saw an interesting post on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, right?
Yes, and I'm planning to make it as our topic, topic of the not the topic. What's the right word? It will be our regular segments.
Mm-hmm.
So we will discuss some LinkedIn posts from designers, artists, people in the industry, because this post, which I find out, I think, I wouldn't say it's controversial, but I think the person who made this post, I think she exaggerated what she said. So if we go into our screen share and Stefan, oh yeah, it's already there. So
already there, mate. Professional.
My man. So basically, originally this was on LinkedIn, but I couldn't find it on LinkedIn, so I found it on Instagram. You need to remember that internet remembers everything. What you put there stays forever. So as I understood, she deleted from her InDesign. What's it called?
Instagram.
LinkedIn. But I found it on Instagram. So basically,
it's also worth mentioning as well that we're being careful not to sort of out who's saying this. Again, design is very subjective, but as Julian said, the internet remembers. So I think it's an interesting sort of conversation we can have about this without pointing fingers, if that makes sense. But yeah,
But I think in this situation I will be a prosecutor, because I think that the person is looking just from one perspective and not trying to understand other perspective. So basically, she's saying that she got rejected for creative role, not because of the portfolio, not because of the skills, because she don't use the Adobe Photoshop, right? So she's saying that she using Affinity. She was using like you can see on the screen. So she was using Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, so different software which Affinity is producing. Okay, so why I see here as a problem. First of all, Photoshop is like, you know, it's like if you go and pray, you know, like before going to sleep. This is the first thing as a designer you need to know, because this is the basis. It's
they
like
call it the Holy Trinity of using InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. That's always what we were taught in college and in university as well. Everything ran through Adobe.
Yes. Okay, let's put it this way. First of all, look on our, where is it? The logo? Yeah. So you can see inspiration, right? I don't think we, well, if not, just look closer where it's coming from.
You'll catch it.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. We use in Adobe, but I will say mildly we're disagree about the pricing thing, right? So kind of like, you know, not as you expected if you were working as a graphic designer. But this is the standard. This is
industry standard.
This is industry standard. When you're entering this design world, you're gonna use Photoshop, InDesign, whatever. You're coming to another company in about 80 something percent. I look on the market share if we're talking about 2D design software. So the about Adobe is holding about 80% of the market. One of the other competitors is CorelDRAW, which I haven't heard for years. The last time I heard someone require CorelDRAW, yeah, I look on just for my curiosity in Latvia. There was one company just trying to, they were hiring someone and they were require CorelDRAW. Usually CorelDRAW, like, you're not using it, so you have a small percentage. So Affinity is somewhere there with the CorelDRAW, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to use it, fine. Like, you can use the paintbrush if you really want to. It's absolutely fine. But look from other perspective. So you saying that you were discriminated because you were using the not using the Photoshop, you're using Affinity, so you don't know how to use the Photoshop, right? So you come into some business, yeah, and say, and the person who's interviewing you saying like, wow, you're great, but you saying to him or her like, I don't know how to use Photoshop, but I'm using Affinity. So what does it mean? This guy who is hiring you, he needs to go to the tech team and say, hey, you know, we have a very great guy, but he's not using Photoshop. Can we get the Affinity license? So what does it mean? If it's I'm talking about the small business to big business. So this means that from the tech team, they going to they are like a manager or maybe the finance department and say, hey, we need the 500 extra pounds for the Affinity. So like, you can see that it's not that easy, you know. If there is one person coming and saying, I want to use Affinity, you can just give it to him because, like, I want it. You need to understand it's not that easy, you know.
Is there a case though? Because we see this a lot, more so in the sort of video production side. When you have a lot of people are moving away from Premiere, for example, right?
Yes.
And people are favoring DaVinci Resolve. Because quite frankly, it is better software. You know, a lot of our gripes with Adobe isn't, oh, it's expensive. That's part of it. It's expensive for what you get. The sort of quality isn't, you know, it's the applications aren't very stable. You know, me and you have lost hours of work because it's crashed or files are missing or something. And so I think people putting forward alternatives. So let's say, like, you know, if you're a production house, why not shift from, let's say, Premiere and After Effects, Audacity, to something like DaVinci Resolve? And it'd be up to the sort of financial officer or whoever's project manager in, or whoever is the key stakeholder there, you know, who has the who would have the power to switch. Would you see companies doing that to get away from Adobe's well, monopoly, really? You know, they are the ones, they are an industry standard. You know, it's their software that people think of when you know, when you think of design. You know, do you think that the world could switch to something like Affinity Designer? Like, obviously, there'd be a lot of friction as people move software, change licenses, whatever. But do you think that could happen?
It's a very good question. Because Adobe is not just they producing the software, they are making the courses, they are making events like I don't know how it's called, like probably it's called convention. So
Yeah, Adobe Max. I think it's. I want to say it's on around now. I might be wrong. We've not been invited yet, so we'll wait for that one.
I think that if there would be a new like player on the market, they need to should provide not just a software. They need to make those courses. There should be like, you know, the whole. They need to show the whole involvement.
Mm.
Otherwise, I don't see how. We can see that, like you said, there is DaVinci. I think there is still Sony Vegas. I think they changed the name. They called Vega, something like this. So slightly other companies are biting at Adobe. You know, they are.
Mm.
For example, if we're talking about 3D world, Adobe is not even close to be the top. Yes,
No.
they have like a Adobe Substance, and there is a light version called Adobe Dimension. But yeah, there is a Blender which is absolutely free. Cinema 4D, Maya, Houdini,
Houdini.
Nuke.
Yeah.
I think Nuke is produced by the same company who doing DaVinci, by the way.
Yeah, because you got Fusion as well.
Yes.
But Fusion is more of a that's like an After Effects competitor.
Yeah. I think that's well, it's a good question. So the Adobe the first Photoshop was launched about 20, 30 years ago or something.
I'd have to check.
Yeah, but about
A while ago.
A while ago. So they built a reputation. They were probably they were like pioneers, you know, in the market. I'm not saying they were the first who made the raster software, like
1990.
yeah. So
well, it's an interesting one, because I think the way that they did it was they created the software and then they were very quick to roll it out to education, to roll it out to institutions, roll it out to the universities, make sure that there are licenses available so people are sort of in the system of learning how to use these programs as early as possible. Jam in the YouTube comments. I'll get back to that in a second. But Jam was on my he was on my sort of graphic. It was called graphic communication, I think, back in GCSE. So this was what 14, 15, 16-ish. We were already, sort of put onto the Adobe system, and there was no alternative available. Another sort of theory I saw, I can't remember where I saw it, but I do believe it, is that Adobe intentionally made their software easy to pirate for the exact same reason that as long as people start using it in some way, they can then grab you later on. Because when you're in industry, you can't be pirating stuff. It's just not the way to do it. You pay for your license, you pay for your fonts, you do things by the book, but you're already in the system, So I think that's how they've sort of built that monopoly, and that's why it's so difficult for other companies to try and put their software forward and say, "Hey, look, this is also great." Figma's a good example, right? So Figma comes out, loads of people love it, and then Adobe goes to try and buy out Figma. I can't remember if it actually went through. I have a feeling that they actually got stopped because of anti-monopoly laws. So
I can't remember, to be honest.
yeah, but either way, it's an interesting sort of sense of like people are realizing that Adobe is probably too big, and they're not allowing for alternatives. But again, like as much as we can rag on Adobe, Photoshop is a good software when it works. After Effects is a good software when it works. Same with Illustrator, and the fact that all of these sort of speak to each other as well and integrate so effectively is what makes it so appealing, and why most likely this lady here was rejected for not using the Adobe stuff, because you might have to correct me on here, Jam, if you're still in the comments, but can you export files in like CorelDRAW, for example, and can they be read by Adobe products? Because he mentions here CorelDRAW is more popular in digital fabrication, so it's used a lot for laser cutting. So I think that's quite interesting.
Fun fact: Gershke, the guy who was one of the first CEOs of Adobe, was kidnapped. Do you know that?
I didn't know that. Go on.
Yeah, he was kidnapped and released then, if I remember it right. I don't remember the whole story. He basically was jogging in the morning, like in his area, where by the way, there's a stream called Adobe. This is where it's coming from. There's I don't know, like a small stream, Adobe. Yeah, and he was kidnapped, and then I'm sorry, very bad preparation, but yeah, I remember he was kidnapped, and yeah, he was released later on.
Were they trying to get their refunds back?
Well, it was before that time,
Yeah. I believe if you convert the file in CorelDRAW to a PDF or other Adobe file format, you can use one to the other. So yeah, I guess that's the thing of like, even if you did have companies that would integrate sort of like outside software, there becomes an extra link in the chain. Like, okay, now we have to convert all of our files to PDFs and then convert from there. And again, Adobe PDFs, as great as they are, they're not always. You try editing text in a PDF, it's like water torture. So
yeah, since we're working on B2B, we receive a lot of PDFs, right? So probably some designers don't know it because they're doing, I don't know, like logos, or they are working in I don't know, like doing some graphics, but they're not doing some, I would say, more generic
corporate
corporate stuff. So imagine that you're trying to edit it, right? So you open it in editor, and for example, one line is like a normal line, so you can select it and copy, or the second line is just a couple of words are selectable, and the rest is might be some gibberish, or basically to use a PDF with their fantastic Acrobat reader. Acrobat DC is absolutely a pain in the ass. It's absolutely awful.
Yeah, I suppose that's part of the intrigue, I think, of this podcast as well, because we're not, we're designers, we use the Adobe software and stuff, but a lot of what we do is also like reformatting PowerPoints, sort of integrating Microsoft stuff, so like Microsoft Word into, into PDFs and sort of trying to alter it there. It's a lot less glamorous, I guess, as what we were sort of hoping for. I think is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%.
But it is a realistic sort of view of like a corporate designer, sort of run-of-the-mill designer. Like we can create our own personal work, and it will have like a super unique voice. And we'll sort of touch on this a bit later on. But when you're sort of in this world of like corporation, everything sort of needs to be sort of clean and monotone, and there are reasons for this. But it is the reality of sort of being an in-house designer, especially like a business to business in-house designer. A lot of jank, trying to sort of mash softwares together, because we may have the skills to edit and illustrate a file, or make something nice in InDesign, but the people in the office can just about use PowerPoint. Some people are good at PowerPoint, some people are quite hopeless, and then we're sort of more moved in here to like clean it, to make sure it's good to go. Yeah.
First of all, let me tell you about the PowerPoint. PowerPoint, if we look in the structure, it's basically made of, here's one Russian euphemism, from shit and sticks. So basically, this software was built somewhere in 90s, and since then, they basically try to show it more and more and more and more. Different plugins, things which are not really working fine. And it's for the designers. If you never work with a PowerPoint, man, you're very lucky, because trust me, if you want to make something, it's difficult. Yes, 4 or 5 years ago, the selection pane was added, and I think it's very good. So basically, selection pane is just a layer system. So now in PowerPoint, there's a layer system like in any other graphic software. But in general, it's you need to understand that you have a lot of limitations when you work with the PowerPoint. You need to understand it, and it can be like frustrating, and of course, when I just came to work, you just fresh off the boat, and you think like, nah, this is the bad software. This is what I was thinking, like, we need to change it. And I was like, the whole office needs to be changed to InDesign. And I remember I spoke with our manager, and she was like, yeah, maybe, why not? But then we realized that we receiving the slide decks from other clients with the PowerPoints. So what are you gonna do? Say to them like, oh, can we have a PDFs, or can you use InDesign? No. So basically, if you're thinking to work in a corporate part of the design world, bear in mind you will work with a lot with the PowerPoint, and you're gonna use a lot of PDFs. I saw some amazing work. Like for example, one of the projects which I saw, um, it's made with such a high quality assets. Yeah. So for example, one of the things what you can do, for example, you make a vector in Illustrator. You just copy paste to PowerPoint, and it will be as a shape, not as an image. So I saw some of the very good examples, but I would say it takes a lot of effort to make something like that. So bear it in mind.
A point here from Jam. It says, I think as we move towards a more international market, other softwares may grow as poorer countries will be able to afford those licenses, and like international freelancers would be able to afford them. I think that's interesting. I also think, though, that wouldn't they just go for pirated Adobe software to start off with? I think. What do you think about that? Do you think if, as designers, as we get more designers, more international designers, they'll also switch to using different softwares, or do you think Adobe is just the ultimate overlords?
I don't see on the market any other gamer who like who will say like, hey, we're gonna change the industry. I don't see it. I really don't see it, and because of there is AI now, and some of the stuff can be made by AI. That's mean there is a less work, manual work, right? So it's difficult to say.
I think we'll touch more on AI in a future stream.
100%, there will be a whole stream about AI. Oh, well, we have a lot of like hot topics. So make sure you subscribe.
But I do think, in the same way that we see stuff like Canva, sort of trying to make it easier for people who aren't designers to design. We have stuff like Adobe Express, also being pushed very heavily as this sort of like, oh, you don't have to do anything and it'll just do it for you type thing. So maybe that's sort of more of the future. I guess that's more of a preview into a future stream.
Yes, there will be a lot of talks about it, but yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know what else I can say. I mean, for the moment, I don't see any other big player in the market.
Yeah, I do think there's an interesting line in that LinkedIn post where it just says, let's start hiring based on skill, not just software. I mean, that's the sort of crux of the whole thing. It's important to mention that, yeah, okay, if you're making cool stuff, you're making cool stuff. You should carry on making that cool stuff. But I think there does have to be some awareness that you are, when you, at least if you're working in a company and you're not doing freelance stuff, expect to be sort of forced into this machine for the time being, at least, unless Affinity managed to pull something off crazy, or or Microsoft decides to update Publisher or something. I think that's just part of how things are. There's a question here from Jam. How hard has it been for you guys to learn softwares outside of the Adobe suite? Do you want me to go first whilst you're doing technical stuff?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go
on. It depends on the software. I sort of alluded to it earlier, but I was quite a big proponent of using DaVinci Resolve. My background is using Premiere, using After Effects, and I've definitely started using DaVinci more when I do stuff for Sven, and when I edit my own videos as well. I'll use DaVinci, but that's because it's a non-linear editor, so it seems fairly fairly intuitive. However, if I wanted to use the Fusion part of it, which is like the After Effects sort of bit, that is completely foreign to me and quite intimidating to learn because it goes from being a layer-based compositor to a node-based compositor. So the system of it is just so fundamentally different. And I find myself sort of trying to slug through it and then just going back to what I know. And I think that's a case with a lot of people where if you're sort of faced with a challenging software, but you already feel so competent in other software, it's like, well, why would we switch? I think other than that, things like using Figma as well as like a new software, like I wouldn't use it as a design tool really. If someone told me to make a logo, I'm doing it in Illustrator. I wouldn't think to make it in Figma. But we've used it in the office for UX design. For UI design. Because we previously used Adobe XD. And then eventually switched to Figma. I'm not sure why. I think it was you that started using Figma, right?
Yeah, because now it's becoming a new norm when if you work in an office as just an ordinary office worker, you're using Figma, and I was like, since we're working in the B2B and like we need to know it. So simple as that.
But Figma itself is quite a strong design tool anyway. Obviously, it's not a replacement for Illustrator or something, but it's certainly a nice way of like prototyping,
for sure,
and that sort of thing. You get the interactions as well, which is nice, and also it's collaborative. So it's like what we're using now is Figma to sort of interact with the stream, and that way both of us have this one canvas that we can work on.
Mm-hmm.
You dream about that in any Adobe software, right? Except maybe XD. Could XD do that? I don't remember.
When the last time I used it, I remember there was a function to like collaborative or something, but I couldn't really. There was not any other person with who I can use it, so I don't know really about it.
Yeah, but I think other than that, I think personally I have more of an apprehension to sort of learning new softwares and stuff because it feels like I'm taking a bigger step backwards. But I think that's more of a personal thing. But if circumstance comes around, then I will try and learn new software. I think Julian, you might be better to answer the question because I know you do stuff with Cinema 4D. You've tried stuff with Blender, and you've sort of gone more like the 3D side of it.
So what was sorry? First of all, what was
what was the question?
The name of the person who asked? Jam.
Jam. Yeah.
Okay, and the question was original.
How hard has it been for you guys to learn softwares outside of the Adobe suite?
It's hard. For me, it's hard. First of all, I'm much older than Stefan. Probably you can see it, but trust me, I'm much older than him. I know I look young because of the radiation. This is the story for the future streams. And yeah, for me now it's more difficult to understand. If we're talking about other software, so very quick. I will explain my very quick history of learning. First, like everyone did, I learned Paintbrush before I became designer. Then there was a short period of GIMP. Then I started to use Adobe software.
You just reminded me, actually, as a really quick one. Way back in the day, when I was first learning like VFX, there was an old tutorial on muzzle flash when you shoot a gun and you have like the flash at the start.
Yeah.
it was using iMovie and GIMP to basically take a frame, add in this like flash, and then sort of splice that frame into iMovie. Yeah, sorry, that triggered a core memory then of like I remember doing this.
Oh, GIMP was the free software and quite like, I wouldn't say easy to understand, but because in that time my English was absolutely on a close to zero level. It was in Latvia back then. By the way, I'm from Latvia. Yeah. But yeah, I will tell about myself gradually. Don't worry, there will be a lot of interesting stories outside the graphic design, which will spice up our podcast. So, I think for me probably difficult to learn because I get used to Adobe architecture. The way that this, like the Windows design, it's because as example, after Adobe, I start to use Cinema 4D, and it's completely different layout. And also, you need to understand that it's a 3D world. There is a different laws, like everything is different there, completely different. So for me, it was a challenge to start to learn Cinema 4D. Now it's better, and I remember when there was a trial for the Adobe Substance. For you, if you don't know, Adobe Substance is basically 3D thing you create, but it's mainly used to create the models. It's very good for modeling. So when I opened it, I was like, oh shit, like I know this, that. Why? Because it's the same architecture, So it's for me it was easy. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm probably on until my last days, I will become the Adobe slave because I get used to the system of Adobe.
I think it's also a case of like even simple things like the shortcuts are shared.
Yes.
Mainly are shared. Like I guess if you go from like After Effects, your pen tool shortcut goes from P to G, and sort of small things like that. But having most of it seem familiar from one Adobe software to another is what makes it so enticing. I do know that in DaVinci, for example, when you first start using it, it will ask you like, "Are you coming from another video editing software?" And it will list like After Effects, Vegas, Premiere, and it will remap shortcuts to be the same thing. But obviously, the way that it works is so different. It's still very much a transition from one to the other. Whereas, like, you can use Photoshop pretty comfortably and then switch to Illustrator and still have a good idea of where everything is or should be and how everything should work. So I guess that's part of the apprehension of once you're sort of in the system and taught that system, it's harder to sort of move out of that.
Yeah, of course, because you get used to it. Like everything is familiar, and then let me think. I don't know, like yeah, I just know the Cinema 4D blenders very vaguely. Well, the Webflow is a completely different thing, so you can compare it. I mean, yeah. So I will stay with the Adobe suite.
Yeah. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about this sort of like accessibility versus more like vibes design. This is a topic that I'm very, very interested in. I've got examples here of you've got the Atkinson Hyperlegible font, which is developed by the Braille Institute. You've got some government posters from the Netherlands. 'Cause I think I quite like the Dutch, the Dutch's eye for design. We've got a government one. We've got an NHS poster here as well. I've also got a few posters here from Anthony Burrell. I think it's, I suppose it goes to a bit more broadly. Should designers design with accessibility in mind? What's the sort of purpose of it? In uni, we were always taught, what is the problem that you're solving? What is the issue that you are trying to resolve through design? And so accessible design seems to lend itself quite well. But what we're seeing a lot more recently is this sort of like anti-design aesthetic. So I won't go too much into the design theory of why grids work and stuff. But if I show you some examples of anti-design here, some of this is David Carson. I suppose I can show you the sort of Bible and anti-Bible of design. So I have here, this is Grid Systems by Josef Müller-Brockmann, and everything is based on order, structure. The Swiss tried to get the this notion of universal design, where everything is as neat as possible. I think my camera will blur that out, unfortunately. But everything is structured, everything is ordered, everything is accessible. It's there to be read. It's very much form follows function. Anti-design is very much the opposite of this. They sort of take the rules and just break them because they can. And we're seeing this now more recently. So I can show you this. This is Reagan. I have examples of this on the screen. Some of the spreads are here. If you see the example here, if I circle it, this is an interesting interview, not because of the content of what it is, but the story is that David Carson, who's the editor of Reagan, thought the interview was so boring. He set the whole thing in Zap dingbats. So the whole thing is illegible. Like, you can't read any of it. It's the symbols that you see here. So it's more of a way of using type and design to tell a story that's not it's not just spelling it out for you super clearly. If we sort of take it a level down from anti-design, I can show you this book, House of Leaves.
Sorry, can you go back, please?
Sure.
So basically, as I understood, he just made a performance, right?
Essentially, yeah. So a lot of his layouts were very radical. A lot of it was sort of cut out by hand. He has a famous quote of "Don't mistake legibility for communication," which you can sort of read into that as like, there's no things don't have to be prim and proper or even read properly, as long as the sort of feeling of what you want is expressed. Then it's good enough. And that's fairly difficult for I suppose me and you to sort of not necessarily comprehend, but to accept, because we are in this corporate system of everything should be clean, everything should be well read. Yeah, Yusuf in the comments, I remember when you hated Carson. I do. I used to hate David Carson's work. I used to think, what is the point? I used to go, why would you design like this? But I guess after 3 years, 4 years of sort of corporate design, I love this now. I really sort of crave this like dirty, gritty design. I've got some more examples sort of show. This is House of Leaves, which I was made aware of recently. I don't think you'll be able to read the text, but you don't really have to. More of a sense of, it's a nice way of using sort of anti-design and using sort of like destructive typography, I guess, like very sort of it's messy. There's no other way of saying it, it's very messy, but it sort of tells a story and it still communicates the sort of vibe. But if you look at this as someone who goes, well, I wanted to read that, is that a problem? There's different ways of doing it. I can show some like punk posters, some punk flyers. Again, the
Wait,
whole vibe of the gone.
First of all, Yusuf, hi, glad to see you here. Secondly, here's my thing. David Carson, fine. As long as is it like a
I'll throw up some of his stuff. One sec.
piece of art, as long as it's like a performance, it's absolutely fine with me. What I completely disagree, if he will say, okay, I will make a poster for some event and no one can fucking read it, you know? This is my problem, you know? I hate when the thing is informative, poster, leaflet, banner, whatever. If it should be informative. For example, there's a venue, yeah? But you are hiding, you know, like you're trying, your artistic thing is basically covering the informative part. This is where I have a problem, and this is why I don't understand as a designer. I think it's a bad thing.
So I can show you some things around that. So I've got here some like really classic punk flyers. Reanimator and Winston Smith, the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag, respectively, where it sort of fits. If you were doing an event like a flyer for a punk poster, right? For a punk event, you're doing flyers for it. Would you really want, you know, for punks, do you want them to be all prim and proper and down to a grid, or do you want them to be edgy and do you want them to be, messy, dirty, grungy? Bear in mind the people who read Raygun were more, they were rockers, they were sort of counterculture, that sort of thing. So for them, maybe seeing stuff in such a clean way is, the exact opposite of what they're looking for.
Okay, I get it. I think I know what you're trying to say. It's basically artistic vision. So it's like okay, here we go. Julian trying to translate something. It's basically you will find what you're looking for. So basically, if we're talking about the target audiences. So the punks like messy stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's my thing," you know. While if it's some, I don't know, like a middle-aged housewife, she'll be like, So, yeah.
But are they trying to attract the middle-aged housewives into their concerts?
No, they're not. But I mean, this is how that kind of designers might think. So this is like basically like a hidden signal, like there is a garage, what's it called? Like I don't know how the raves called in the punk culture.
Concerts, gigs.
Mash, I don't know.
Yeah, gigs.
Yeah, so probably this is, but I'm really sorry. No, for me, if we're talking about information, this is all. It needs to be primary thing. You need to go there. You need to understand this is there, and if it's not, I'm not buying it.
Is this where we show J.P. stuff? So
yes,
I watched listened to a podcast a couple of days ago from Overset Text, and there is some is an interview with a gentleman, J.P. Consuegra. His style is, I suppose, controversial to say the least. The way that he talks about the sort of responsibility of designers, again, is sort of at odds of what we were taught, and I think that makes it quite interesting. The main one was this trail cam one. That's the one that was sort of picked up in interviews and stuff. It's the one that really made him pop off.
Sorry,
Where
can we make experiment? If anyone in the chat can think what's this poster about? Like, what is the purpose of it? Is it like, I don't know, advert of the national park, or it's a exhibition, or it's a like a cover poster for some metal band, or what do you think?
just a quick one. I'm not sure how you say your username. Othertrop asking, do we feel that AI might be able to do our entire job by itself, and we're no longer needed by customers? I think that's something that we will talk about at length in another podcast.
Yeah, not today.
Maybe not the next one, but certainly in the future we have that planned as like a big topic.
Oh, trust me, there will be very heated debate.
It's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one. But thanks for stopping by. I'm not ignoring you. We're just it'll come. That one will come. It deserves a lot more time than just a quick sharp answer, if that's all right. Yusuf here of what if the poster brings people to look at it because it's more interesting than just the time and date, which I guess is the purpose of this poster.
Well, if it's just on the art exhibition, it's fine. But I mean, if you want to bring people and to some concert or exhibition, you need to give them directions. Otherwise, it's pointless, and there will be no money.
Well, because this has on this poster, it's got the name of the concert. It's got the guests. It's got time and date. It's got the location. That's all here. So here's the location. Here's the date. Up at this bit.
Okay. Put the hand up if you think it's the right way. By the way, Jean-Pierre Consuegra, we are welcoming you. Me personally, I would like to debate with you. Not like a argument, but I mean proper debates. So
I think it's an interesting style because here's the thing, right? As much as I can sit here and as much as I'm a advocate for accessibility in everything we do, I do think there is a place for designs like this. I do think it's quite interesting. I think that, even the fact that we're talking about it is enough to try and to sort of validate it and say, this is important. Like, sure, you might not like it, and I guess that's just the nature of design. You don't have to like everything. It's all design is subjective. I'll show you another sort of famous one he's done, where it's like a TSA sort of like X-ray scan.
What is it about? Is it just artwork, or it's
no? This is another rave flyer. These are rave flyers.
Oh, okay.
But it's based on UI. So I guess part of this question, I guess what Yusuf was alluding to is, are you part of that target audience then? If you're looking at this going, nah, don't get it.
I will not.
Is that because you're not sort of being targeted to get put in that group? If you're put off by the poster, would you be put off by the music?
I will not even understand this is the invitation poster for some event, the left one, because I'll be like, what's going on here? The second one is more interesting because probably it works. It drags your attention because, why it's dragging your attention? Because there is a shoots from camera, and you might think, oh, okay, so this is maybe something about to do with the criminals. Maybe they're wanted. So this is how it might work. You'll come closer. You start to read and okay, so creative, I can say like from all of those three, the right one works, but it's just working because there is an element which really can attract your attention. You know?
Yeah, but you also wouldn't look at that and go, "Oh, well, that's a rave, that 100%." You know, so I guess that's the both are designed to look in to try and look more. So Jam here saying being confused with the posters actually makes me more curious to investigate more. Like he's already hooked.
Fair enough.
And then from Yusuf, why doesn't that logic apply to all of the posters? So if you see this like TSA scan thing and you look closer, then you see like the list of artists. You see where it's held and stuff. All the information you need is on there. It's just not like a white sheet of paper that says, "Here are your artists. Here's the date. You know, bring your friends.
Okay.
Tickets are going to be this much."
Okay. So first of all, okay. So Yusuf saying why it's not applied to another one. Very simple. Because in our modern culture, if we see some images from the security cam, what first popped to your mind? Okay, so probably those people they did something, steal, I don't know, criminals, yeah. So this is what is attracting you straight away. You might think, oh, what's that? You know, if we're talking about the other ones, the suitcase or the animals, if we're talking about the attraction, it's less. You need to understand that if you're on the street, there is a lot of things which are may blur our attention. So here's a fact. In the Western world, I'm talking about now Europe and America, the percentage of people who have a ADHD in Europe is between kids is about 5%, and in adults is about 2.5. Yeah, in America it's something about 10. ADHD in general is a very complicated thing. Yeah, so we're not gonna talk about what's it called, questionable treatments and so on, but we need to understand that there is a lot of people with such an issue, with a deficit of attention. Yeah, you need to understand that there is even more people who will never be never was diagnosed with the ADHD, but it doesn't mean that they have a problem. They have a problem with ADHD. Third thing is that there is a term which is called, if I'm correct, it's called clip culture. So there is if you don't know, there is a guy called Alvin Toffler. He's an American philosopher, so it's like and futurologist, and he basically made this term. He basically explained that because we have so much different source of information, our attention span is very short. So we're talking about shorts, TikTok, and so on. More and more, it's difficult to focus our attention on something. So between the ADHD and normal people attention, there is I don't know, like a gray area people. So they might not have an ADHD, but they might have a issue with attention for some different reasons, like, you know, psychological reason, or maybe they have some, I don't know, like, well, usually attention thing is it's something to do with your brain, right? So, and this is why I'm standing for very clear, bold, not design, but information. Provide the clear information. And this is, when I see that poster, I mean, the right one is good because it attracts your attention for a reason. The left one is not, because it's just something visual. That's all.
But would that not draw you in? So it sort of segues back to the accessibility point of should all designs be at the expense of this like artistic freedom, I guess? Should designs have to conform to accessibility standards? You know, should it be said that, oh well, if text has to be read, it has to be at this size, it has to be on like a high contrast background, it has to be you know what I mean? Like, so how far do you go with it? Because it's a lot harder with excuse me, it's a lot harder with print media to show this. You know, my dissertation was on video games, and that has the benefit of being digital. In the same way with web design, or I suppose digital works, you can use like alt text, you can use overlays, you can use toggle states. Probably one of my favorite examples is in the game Red Dead Redemption 2. In the journals, Arthur, or would you say Arthur for anyone who's not played the game yet, can write notes in his journal, and it's handwritten. You know, you look at it and it looks handwritten. And if you're maybe your reading comprehension's not very good, maybe your eyesight's not the best, you're going to struggle to read it because it's very cursive, like old style, you know. But there'll be a button you press, and then it will overlay just a black box, white text, super clear, and it gives you that like accessible option. So let's say if you're viewing this flyer, would you think that we could have things like that? So let's say, for example, this like hypothetical, right? You have glasses called like Envision, this like sort of experimental thing where it allows, I think it uses AI and some other sort of models and stuff to essentially be someone else's eyes. So it's mainly for like low vision and blind users, right? And they can put them on and they can look around, and it will explain to them, it will read out aloud what they're looking at, you know. So I'd be looking at this and it'd say, oh, I see a desk with 2 monitors and a microphone. Or if they're going through, you can say, you're at there is a bike in front of you, or there's a lamppost here. You can hold up a book, and this is where it gets cool. You can hold up a book and say, oh, well, this is XYZ. So you can go through and it reads it out. Do you think if there was like a tag almost that could be read by glasses like this? Let's say, for example, you had like a QR code-ish thing that was in the corner of one of these posters. And once that's scanned, it gives you like a really clean format, almost like a text document, white, or you can customize it, whatever you like.
It might be a deal.
You know, do you think that would be the alternative? So,
well, for me, it might be a deal, you know, because again, I'm not against the grunginess. I'm not against the creativeness. But if we're talking about something, I think you can call the posters for some event as a UI, right? It's a part of UI, can be. So it's because it's a
no, not really. I mean, this uses UI elements, but I wouldn't call this UI.
Okay, so there's some design which might give you some directions. Let's put this way. I'm sorry, you know, if it sounds weird in English, but yeah. So you need to give you need to clearly give those directions. If there is no, I think it's a bad thing. You know, simple as that. So that's all.
Sure, but if you're trying to attract a certain crowd and you see a post that looks like, you know, a trail cam, you're like, oh, what's that? And you then go closer to it, you know, as Jan was saying, you sort of hooked, you look in, and then you read, oh, what's that? Lights down low, what is that? And then you see a date. You're already scanning the poster to sort of see what it's about. And by the end of it, well, you've read it, you've read the information, you know?
You might read it, but I think the most people, well, okay, fine. I think that most people will pass it through without reading. the poster with the cams, there is a more chance that people read because it's interesting. It attracts the attention.
But there's the thing that I'd still say that trail cam poster is interesting. I'd be interested by it if I was walking past and I saw it somewhere.
I don't know. It's and also, what is the meaning behind the animals? Are those?
Well, that's the thing. Does there have to be meaning to it, or is that just used as a hook?
Well,
Like, why do they look like they're
okay.
shoplifting from a shop?
Okay. The shoplifter from the shop. Well,
yeah. Why use that imagery if they're musicians or DJs or whatever?
Is it the images of the musicians?
Yeah, they're the musicians.
So those.
So on the side there is like a little bio of who they are.
And those the camera shots are them as well, or just random people.
That might be random people. Well, there's a fox in that one.
Oh.
And I don't think any of them are a fox.
Okay. Well, it's difficult to read what it says, but I mean, like I said, I'm not against the design like this itself. I'm against the to show it somewhere on a and inform people about something. That's all.
That's fair. I think I can, if we go like one step back then from this, I'll show you this this cafe. You have the designers listed below. So Reanimator Coffee is what it is. I'd like to know your opinion on these posters because they appear as a set. So not all of them will have the hand and the cup graphics over it.
So what is it? Is it the name of the event, or it's a cafe? Just
It's a cafe.
And what this says, Port Richmond, Kensington. Is this like a branches?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the purpose of it. I don't know where it was placed. Is it just placed somewhere near the toilet? It's fine. It's just a part of the interior.
Well, this is to attract customers to go there, to sort of have awareness around it.
Well, then I think it's not very very good way to attract them, I think. But again, is it was like posters on the streets, billboards?
So it was a rebrand for their for a coffee roaster.
I'm not sure about it. What people from chat say?
See if anyone's left, or we've bored them all. Because they have other. I'll throw this one in as well.
Drink. I mean, this is fine for me. I don't see any problem with that. But again, I don't really know the company. I never heard it before.
Sure.
So, okay. So open daily, Saturday, Sunday.
So I guess that's a good example of, does it have to be clean, precise. People aren't really, it's upside down for a reason. Now, what was the question? The question is, what do you think of this as a rebrand or as a tactic? As like a general sort of view on. The ones underneath have gone. That's fine. Of stuff like this as like wayfinding. I guess more in general, it's a question of what do you think of mixing in like grungy elements when it comes to wayfinding. So I guess Julian's take on it is more he wants like absolute clarity when it comes to wayfinding, when it comes to signage, directions. Information is first, whereas I'm more the case of if you can still get the information from it somehow, even if you have to look closer, it's still doing its job.
I mean, well, I disagree about the 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I think it's too much. I kind of okay, fine. Maybe it attracts your attention, but you see, I don't know what was the like what the branding was before, and I never heard about this chain before. So
Yeah, let me check the article properly. So it's a coffee shop that draws its name from a H.P. Lovecraft story. So the independent coffee roaster approached Hannah and James to reimagine its branding. So it says the longtime coffee hub with its own cult following was in need of change. So this is reading from It's Nice That online. Yeah, so they wanted a playful process. Typeface is full of character with contrasting angles and curves. They wanted to give it a more modern, bold look that complemented the analog typography.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's kind of fine. I mean, will do.
Yeah. So Yusuf says, depends on what I'm doing, to be honest. If I was walking on a day off and I had time, he'd find it interesting. But if he was in a rush, he wouldn't bother. So I guess then is that it's clearly a gamble that the owners were willing to take.
Well, seems they're pretty big one, because I read there is about how many 15 different branches. So I mean, probably people will know them.
Well, 6.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Reanimator Café, roaster.
So sorry,
Port
1,
Richmond.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, so it's okay. Well, like I said, I'm sorry to Hannah Karabi and James Paris. If it's placed somewhere like in a cafeteria, like on the wall, as a part of the decor or near the toilet, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. But it's not give you the like informative purpose. It's very, very bad in terms of this. But like I said, I don't know the purpose of it.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. It doesn't say where these are actually used. It just mentions that they are that it's posters. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I think that's about it when it comes to examples. I have a quick one from Linus Bowman, excellent YouTube channel, where he redesigned driver's licenses. I just wanted to highlight it. He was also involved with creating Atkinson hyperlegible as a way of like, this is where I agree, where because of the purpose of this, in that it's supposed to be scanned very quickly, you're supposed to be able to determine the information very quickly. The example he gives is if you're a bouncer and someone gives you like just licenses, you have to be able to go, right, yep, you're through. Check the age, you're done. You know, you don't have to scan loads of different
System, yeah.
you know, sections and systems. And so he makes this one here. I think again, it all depends on the audience. It all depends on the use case, where you can get away with having a rave flyer that looks like a trail cam, that has the typography is there. You know, you can read it. You have to look closely, but you can read it. Whereas, you know, you have something like this, which is a driver's license, something very official. It's why I showed some of the Dutch government stuff as well. You know, that has to be read very clearly and very, you know, it has to be like legibility is like the key
Yeah,
there.
100%. It's like, as example, you can find those videos on TikTok or YouTube. Type Latvian passport under the UV light. So passport is, it's look like every page is same, yeah? And well, because it's a EU, they are standardized, yeah? They like around the EU, the passport is same. But if you use a UV light, you will see a lot of patterns. You know, on every page there's a different pattern. There is a pattern which depicts some landmarks in Latvia. You know, architectures, or what's it called? The different like nature, like wonders of our country. But is it made for fun? No. Again, it's made for a reason. It's for a protection, you know, so you can know that this passport is legit. So you see where the beauty of the design comes with usability, you know, because it will be a nightmare for the fake artists to fake the passport, which have UV images of it. I'm sorry, one more thing. One more thing. I want to say that I wish there could be a standard for all the documents around the world, the same. You know, I want to start the standardization, because probably some people say, "Oh no, you like it's breaking the design style." No, if we're talking about the documents, I think there should be the same format.
Yeah, so that's closer to what the Swiss were trying to do with their universal design. And I guess the counter to that is, should we have to follow that as designers? Obviously, everything is subjective.
You're talking about the international style, Swiss international style.
Yeah. Universal design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a question of should we have to follow that? I guess as a my brain. I guess as a designer, should we be forced to follow a universal style, even if it is for the good of people with disabilities? Because accessibility does limit your limit what you can do. You have to make sure that you have enough contrast. You have to make sure your legibility is on point. You know, is it the right thing to do? Yeah, I think you struggle to you'd struggle to sort of argue against it, but it does limit the creativity. And currently, there's no system that can allow both to live at the same time.
Agree. And okay, let me tell you this. Me, Julian, thinks that Signages, especially airport. I want to see them fucking in every country the same, because I'm confused very easily in the airport because of the, you know, like someone say, oh, we're gonna make those arrows not pointed, but you know, like it's like smooth and so on, you know, or toilets, yeah, like, you know, there is so many different approaches now where they are depicting the toilets, and sometimes it's confusing. Same, we're talking about about the signals. Oh, crazy fact for you. In Japan, you might see blue a traffic light might have a four signals. So the green and blue in Japanese language is like a it's the same color with different tints for Japanese, blue and green. And yeah, you can find those pictures, and it's a bit weird to see, and I think that yeah, there should be some standard. So I wish there could be some like unified system. Same with the road signs. Yeah, well, now after so many years, yes, the road signs are look very close in most of the parts of the world. Yeah, there's a standard, and I think it's good, because the main thing, it's not about you know, you don't, as a designer, you shouldn't think like, oh, you know, there should be a cool sign. The people need to be concentrated while they're driving. You know, this is the priority.
Sure.
I guess I'm you know, I'm just listening to what I'm saying in general, and I'm speaking like some bureaucrat, you know. Everything needs to be regulated, but yeah, I have a very like, I'm separating creativeness, leave it for the art galleries. Information thing need to be like, you know, priority if we're talking about something that we want to inform someone. And this is basically like a golden ratio. I'm not talking about the golden ratio that I mean, this is the golden part where art and design comes together and they're making a beautiful thing. So again, back to Latvian passport. This is the very beautiful thing. Like, it's doing the job, every standards, but if you use the UV light, you can see all those patterns and everything. And it's not just for fun. It's difficult to fake it. So yeah.
But do you not see the world sort of shifting more, or I suppose shifting back to being grungy? So obviously, David Carson and the sort of grunge scene in the 90s was a response to the 80s being very, or a lot of the design sort of became very like utilitarian, very not boring, but I guess they would have seen it as boring. You know, now you look around, everything's Helvetica, everything is minimalist. You know, all the logos, they say that all the life has been sort
Nah.
of sucked out of them.
I disagree about minimalism. I think minimalism is slowly going away.
Well, this is what I mean. So currently, people are now shifting to this anti-design, to sort of maximalism. You know, posters like the trail camp stuff, where it's so sort of loud and in your face. Is that just the way that it goes for a little bit, and then we eventually swing back to
100%.
yeah.
I can assure you 100%, because everything. Wait, let me try to translate it. The best things are forgotten things. I don't know if it sounds well. So basically, it's a fashion, and it's going well, like waves, you know. Something becoming interesting now, then, you know, people forget it, and then again, and we can see those patterns with fashion.
Fashion, yeah.
We can see those patterns with the design as well. Like, for example, like a Swisted thing, you know, it's kind of, but it's not just coming back. It's used with something new, you know, and here you go. So, for example, now there is a posters. I think they're called brutalist posters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So basically, there is like a square or rectangle, and inside everything is very like box in a
Yeah.
box. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of coming from 80s, but there's a grunge. There's a lot of grunge effect, but also there is like some effects from, I would say, maybe analog sound software, audio software, because I can see there's those grids. People like to make grids. They like to make those shapes of globe, the barcodes, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, the fashion is cyclic. It's going in cycles, and I think that uh, minimalism will come back, but I think it will not be soon, because I wouldn't say I'm very against minimalism, but I don't really like it. I mean, it's just my thing. I'm not saying it's wrong. Nothing wrong with this. It's just my thing. You know. Well, Yusuf and Stefan know, since I became the designer. So since uni, I was not. I was trying to put a lot of stuff on my work. Sometimes it was awful, you know, but probably it's also to do with because I'm from East. I'm from Eastern Europe, and in general, Eastern European designers are making something more motley, something a lot of like colors and everything. But this is thing what we are planning to speak as well, because very quick thing, I believe there's a thing as a national design, and it doesn't mean like you would say, oh, like Julian, do you really think that, I don't know, like Bosnia have a national design? No, it's mean there is a national design. The big nation have a national design. I mean, not the big. I mean, there is like, I can say there is a national design like Dutch, German, Russian, French, yeah, and there is other countries who are kind of like facing, so they are more like replicated this style. But also there is other thing, how people in different countries are looking on the design itself. I mean, what they like, what they don't like. I mean, you know, because we can see different parts of the world. Like, for example, look in America, yeah? Look at American packaging. It's screaming at you. It's in your face. And compare it now with the European one, yeah? But again, this is like just short teaser. Um, we will make I don't know, if it will be a lecture or um, we will speak about this with the guests. But yeah, I have somewhere the names of those designers. I'm sorry, it's the first stream. We have some a bit technical issues, but we promise we will get better next time. So basically, the name of the designer is Elza Strazdina, and she's from Latvia. I swear to you, I'm not trying to find on Pinterest someone from Latvia. It's happened just accidentally. So Elza Strazdina, she made this design. So I think this is wrong, yeah, because there is a problem with the visibility, and I think the poster shouldn't be like that. So yeah, I think that's it's kind of cool, yeah, because with the white, you can see that she's working like with white, and there is this Freiburg Festival, yeah. I think she using Helvetica, yeah. It's kind of cool, but in the same time, can you see that there is a problem with visibility. I think this is the big problem.
So again, it's more of a question of, well, would you um, would you see that and look closer? Because you can just about make out Freiburg Festival, and then you can see at the very bottom sort of music, and then you can sort of piece together, right? Okay, the date is on its own very clear. The sponsor logos are all unobstructed, as they probably requested. Um, I suppose, yeah, the theater is harder to see, but if well, the theater is also repeated at the top, if I'm not mistaken, right?
After 2018, there's a theater. Yeah.
Yeah, but you also have, so you can see the smaller text, the 16 international productions. Then you have Ework Freiburg Theatre. So is that not the location as well?
I think this theater, and it's called Tans Fans. So you see what I mean? So this is the problem. The two of us can identify really what clears that. This is the problem. This is what I'm against. So this is one of the like classic Swiss set posters. But can you read without like understanding what does it says?
Well, this is a good example of like the information of what you need to read is all at the top and as clear as day. You can't get without increasing the scale. Your contrast is fine. Your typeface is fine. You know.
I don't know. I think it's a bit too much because it's difficult to read, and obviously when we need to understand the scale of it, yeah. But if it's A4, then it's like if it's
Well, I
big.
think even if that was A4, you'd be hooked in by the 391.
What is
You
391?
know,
Sorry.
so I'm assuming the event or the artist or whatever is UXA in 391. It says at the
Yeah, yeah,
top.
yeah. But do you know? I just don't know what the free now. Maybe something what I don't know.
No, not a clue. Don't know what it is. But it's bring your own. I don't know what H would stand for, but I can see that it was Saturday, March 1st. All ages are welcome. Hollywood, California. You've got the address here at Blackie's, 607 North, whatever that is. You know. So
Probably it might work in that time, but definitely not in our time because
why not?
uh,
I reckon you could see designs like this kicking about today.
I think it's because of the attention issues. You know, like people have a difficulty to uh, like focus on something, and probably like they will be like, oh, because we get used to that. We have a title, it's one font, date is a different font, and so on.
I disagree with that. I think I don't think you necessarily have to mix typefaces and stuff like that. That's just different ways of establishing
But we
a
use in the
hierarchy.
same family. We use in the same family. We can use like, for example, italic for the like date and the bold for the title.
Yeah, I suppose that has rhythm, but even stuff like this, you still have because again, it's very clear. The background is clear. It's a four-column design. As you can see, they just missed a column
Yeah,
out
yeah, the grid. Yeah.
to separate the date and the place, the time and place. I can see this being made today.
Well, okay, maybe it's a per personal preference, but
I think that's how a lot of this will sort of come down to. Okay, it's personal. I mean, obviously, graphic design is super subjective.
oh yeah,
Um,
100%. Well, okay. For example, the good example. Yeah, I'm not just came here to trash one. So can you take this one, please. So yeah, I think this one is doing the job, you know? Like, you can see clearly where is it, the date, time, and there is some abstract, stuff, whatever. I think it's worked very well.
Yeah, I don't think that's, with the exception of just having a larger font size. I think you can just as quickly get the information, if not faster, from this one. In the same way that, like, okay, yeah, Dover Street Gallery is like huge, and the abstractionism is huge, but the name of the event, I'm assuming, is this 391 UXA whatever, and that's also repeated here at the top. The date is, again, very here, is here. Whereas that, you could argue, oh, maybe it's too close to the abstractionism. Maybe there's not enough space in between it. The kerning on this one is a lot wider than what it maybe should be. I say in terms of like a technical standpoint, I 100% would stick with this 391 poster.
Are we talking about the composition
I'm talking about
itself?
I'm talking about composition, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm talking about composition, and I think that it's a much more, in terms of relaying information, I think that the poster on the left, I would argue, is a lot more pleasant to read than the one on the right.
Well, okay, if we're talking about cleanliness, the left one, the Swiss one, definitely is better. But if we're talking about the getting information, the right one is much better, I think, because you don't need to come closer to it. You can see it from distance. So I think this is why it's a good example. I mean, do we have any questions?
Go back to the browser.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not seeing any new ones.
Probably people got bored.
Maybe. Do we want to wrap up here then?
Wrap up.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want.
I think we had the good discussion today. As a first start. Well, I mean, just the beginning, guys. I mean, we'll get better. Trust me, there will be more interesting topics.
See if we can start on time.
We will. 100% will. It's just a matter of the, polishing the process of it. But I think that's what I want to say, that this podcast is not just about the graphic design itself. I mean, just to talk about and saying that this is all subjective, and I think this is the right approach, and this is the wrong approach. We also planning to evaluate graphic design style in a different in different parts of our visual world. So we're planning to do like evaluate the graphic design in the games, in the universes. If you're a big fan of Star Wars, there will be something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fan of some games like, I don't know, like Fallout, Cyberpunk, and any other one, we're planning to basically just deassemble it. Not just to tell you about the graphic design and why it's work. We want to tell you more about the references, why it's working together, because design is not just about what do you see, like I mean, some nice, if we're talking about games, some nice menus and fonts. This what give you immersiveness, especially if we're talking about the games like shooters, or we could talking about the I don't know, like RPGs and so on. So yeah, I mean, do you want to say something in the end before we finish?
Um, no, I just want to say if you stuck around this far, appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll have some interesting things to come a little bit further up. Yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you found it interesting. We have an email that you can, if you feel so inclined. Obviously, feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. No, just thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. If for some unknown reason you like what you heard or saw today, so big thumbs up, subscribe, and share us. There will be a lot more fun stuff in future. So I wish you all the best. Thank you. Дякую, спасибо, полдес, arigato. See you next time. Peace.